Awesome. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I see everybody's out there with cameras off, which is fine. But if you have a camera and you'd like to give us an audience to look at, we would appreciate that too. No pressure. So I'm just here to introduce our presenter this afternoon. Kara Hetlinger is a teacher at Wetaskiwin-Comstock High School. She's a social expert and also has been using Brisk. I think was the first teacher to request that we actually look at it for the division. So I would say was responsible for all of you having Brisk right now too. So Kara's been using Brisk with her high school classes, or I should say in her work. And so she's going to share some tips and some use things. And I'm just here to learn a little bit, and I'll keep an eye on the chat. So if you have a question you want to pop in the chat, I'll keep an eye on those and drop those in as we have time. And other than that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on over.
Well, thank you very much. I started using Brisk a few years ago, and I wanted to kind of experiment with all the different AI tools that were out there. And I thought that this tool presented a lot of different options. It's very versatile. And we have, I believe for everybody in the division, we have the district level, whatever you want to call it, we get all the bells and whistles with it right now. So there is a free version out there, and it's a little bit more limited. So we get all the tools right now. So please make sure that if you have any questions, you let me know. I'm going to just walk you through some of the tools, and they are evolving all the time. Even when I go back in, I'll find some new things that I didn't know were there before. So I will walk you through some of the things that you can do with Brisk in your classrooms. And I'm approaching this very much from a teacher standpoint. I wanted AI to work for me. I'm not looking for AI tools for students necessarily. I want stuff that's going to make our jobs easier, to be able to mark assessment faster, to be able to create assessment faster. And so I'm just going to start and go through some of the tools. So I think first I have to share my screen. And Ange, just let me know if I'm doing anything that doesn't seem like it should be working the way it's not supposed to. So I will share. And then I guess I'm just going to start. So hopefully you can just see my screen at this point. All right.
We can see the screen, all good.
I think I need to make this smaller so that you can actually see the Brisk. Oh, I can move it over here. I'll do that then. There we go. All right. So when you download Brisk, if you haven't already, mine pops up as a little toggle in the top right corner. And so you can click that on and off whenever you'd like. But normally I just keep it on, and you'll see that there is that Brisk logo in the bottom corner there as well. And so I thought I'll just go through a bunch of the features and I'll show how they work. And then if you have any questions, let me know. So just to begin, when you click on Brisk, and it does say now, look, you can upload images as well if you'd like to upload images for any of your documents you want to create. There are a couple main areas that teachers would utilize. The Create button, which I'll talk quite a bit about because there's some really neat features on that. Giving feedback to students, which is the one that I personally like the most. There's also the Inspecting Writing, which I like because it allows you to kind of do a little bit of AI detection, see if they've copy and pasted off the internet, especially if it's not an in-class test piece, but it's something that they have access to the internet with. And then another really neat feature is the changing the different levels. So if you have any kind of work that you want to adjust and differentiate in the classroom, then you can change the level to whatever you need to. All right, so to begin, I wanted to talk about the giving feedback feature. So I have put on the screen just it's a one source. It's one source analysis that we would do in grade 10, but you could do this for any piece. It would work really well for short stories. And I imagine if you are able to tell AI what you want to do with it, I'm sure you could probably put certain long answer questions in as well. So there's a couple different features that you can look at, and I really like the targeted one because it will actually point out specific information in the source that you may want to address with students. So I'll go ahead and show you how it is. So here, of course, I can choose the language. I'm going to choose that I want it to analyze it at a grade 12 or even a university level. I do find that the grade level requirement or the grade level that it presents, our grade level is a little bit higher. So I usually err on the side of caution and say, if this is a grade 10 piece, I'm going to have it analyzed as a grade 12 at grade 12 level. Another neat feature is that if you tend to want to look at the same features and give the same feedback on different sources and different items, there is a prompt history. So you can go back and you can kind of find which prompt best fits, and then you can put that in there. So for example, if I wanted to analyze this sort, or I want to give feedback, provide feedback for links to, we were studying globalization, depth of historical evidence, and then I'm going to throw in something like grammar and vocabulary. So I'm just going to type those things in, and then I'm going to press Brisk. And right now it is going to generate comments just like you would comment on a student's work. Oh, what happened? Oh, nothing happened there. Let's try that again. It's not doing anything. I wonder if it has to do with the fact that I have another app open. Oh, that would be bad.
It's not cooperating.
It's not doing anything. I don't know if it's because I have.
So there has been a little bit of feedback on their Facebook page this week about some issues.
Well, it worked an hour ago when I was bringing everything up, but I don't know why. I wonder, I'm going to skip ahead. I'll try a different feature and see. That is strange that all of a sudden it's not working, because that will be, if it's not going to work with Google Meet open, it's not doing anything. I'm not sure why it's not doing anything. Well, when I didn't have my Google Meet open, what would happen is I would get something like this, where I would get auto-generated comments, and they're very specific comments. And what I like about it is if it finds a piece, let's say it highlights this sentence, and say the sentence is grammatically incorrect, or there's some facts that don't seem to fit with whatever you're asking for, it'll actually generate maybe some alternate statements, or it will fact check things. So if a student used a wrong date or a wrong piece of information, it'll say, try using it this way, and it will give some feedback. And then just like a normal comment would, I could type in a comment, and then it will leave it blank, like you can see here. And I have to then go in and approve the comments. So I can just press comment or cancel on any of their auto-generated comments. So if I don't like the comment, or I find it repetitive, or I want to adjust it because maybe it's too lengthy or not lengthy enough, you can press that, and then all of a sudden the comment will pop up just like that. And so then theoretically, when students open up their work, it will say my name, the teacher's name, and then it will have the comment attached. And it does highlight each thing that it wants to comment on. I guess we'll try the next one. I hope that it's not because there's another app. I tried to do it on some other apps today, and I wasn't getting a great response. But I don't know if it's because I don't think it would have anything to do with.
I do think it is having issues, because I'm actually having trouble with doing it on a doc right at this moment as well. And I have presented Brisk in a Meet before, so it should function.
Okay.
I guess Brisk's ready for a long weekend too, because my extensions actually completely disappeared on my Google Doc now.
Oh, awesome. Nope, it's not doing anything. Well, I hope it. Okay, well, I guess we'll try the next one and we'll see what happens here. Well, the next one I was going to show you, which I really like this feature, is inspecting writing. So, for example, I give kids I give them a current event assignment, and they can find an article and they have to answer a few questions for me. I hope it works. I'm going to inspect the writing. Oh, that works. Okay, so one of the neat things that it will do is it'll replay, and you can kind of, it's on its fast sharing mode right now, which is nice, but it'll replay the kid typing it for you. And you can look at things like, it'll say there was one major copy and paste. And in this case, it shows that it was when the kid copied the website, which isn't a problem, obviously. It'll even tell you how long it took them to write it. So those are some red flags for me. So when I'm going through kids' work and I see that they took 1.5 minutes to complete it, and there's 2 big copy and pastes, I press play. I know that it's plagiarized right away. They copied and pasted it from some article, and it's done. So that's another neat feature. They've evolved this plagiarism detector, if you will. It used to be where they would guess to what extent AI was involved in the writing of a piece. And I think because that can be a really challenging thing, they are now changing it to this, where you can take a look and just see it's, one big copy paste. It took them 10 seconds to write. They clearly copied and pasted the whole thing, but you can replay it. So I actually do show students this feature that I can see. I like to pretend that I tell kids I have all the AI tools on my computer, and they will detect everything at any moment. And so there's no sense in trying to cheat the system. But it does help, because then even when kids are giving me some work in the beginning of the course, I can give them a little bit of feedback and say, listen, I won't accept this next time. I can see that you copied and pasted. So that's a really neat feature as well. All right, well, that one worked at least. Let's try the next one here. There's a couple that I wanted to show you, and this one's a really neat feature, which is to change the level of the work. So I just went ahead and copied a piece from, I believe this is a grade 6 ELA PAT, because I thought I would put that in there so that we could see. Now, let's say you're teaching grade 6 or grade 9 or whatever grade, and this will work for science content. You could use this for your social textbook or your science textbook or whatever readings you're giving to people, and you can put this in. And then if I want to change the level of it, I can put it in here, and it says this assessed readings is approximately grade 5 level, which makes sense. And this particular source had some questions attached to it. So I can go in here and I can change it. So if I was trying to differentiate a little bit and I had a really struggling learner, let's say I'm going to go grade 2, and I'm going to click grade 2, and I want it to translate still into English, and I can change the reading level. And it's going to create a new document, which is nice, because then you can save in your Google Drive the original document for your grade level, and then you can go, and it actually even creates a link. Now, I hope it works here. It's making me nervous. Oh, it's worked. Yes. Nope. Oh, it is working. Good. And so you can see that they're rewriting the story, and you can see just by your screen, very simple writing. Seems like it's really working hard today right now. And as you see, it's rewriting the story, but it's simplifying the language quite significantly. But at least then kids are still doing the same work. They're talking about the same story. And then you can see it's even altered the questions to make them simpler as well for students who might be well below grade level, or however you want to do it. I suppose you could even you could do it the opposite direction. If you have a student you're really trying to challenge with their reading level, but like they're reading well above your grade level, you could turn that into a more complex piece with higher level vocabulary and higher level questions, but still everybody's doing the same work in the class. Now, one thing that I will show you is that oftentimes when you do any work, it'll show you here a screen that says anything you'd like to change. And in that thing, I'm going to say add an answer key. I should spell it right. Add an answer key. We'll see what it does here. And so oftentimes when I'm making stuff, it's going to redo it again for me, but it's going to add the answer key with it. Oftentimes when I add things in, I try, and your AI is only as intuitive as you are. So if you put all the criteria that you want, add an answer key, make them multiple choice, add short answers, whatever you might be wanting, then it will do that. And you can see it's added the answer key as well. So that's kind of a neat feature that I really like. And so again, you're taking this story that is at a certain grade level, and then the kids can do the same thing. And you could apply this to any assignment that you're making, whether it is science, if you just want to simplify the words. not necessarily change the content, but you want to simplify the words. That's something you can do as well. And like I said here, I could have chosen to make it at a university level, and it would increase the difficulty level for reading as well, but still all doing the same stuff. I wanted to point out a couple other things for you as you're doing this. One of the features that's here is there is an upload button as well. And this allows you to upload any Word document or PDF. So for many of you, you might have documents in Word that you make your assignments in, or you have documents in PDF. You can actually upload them and it will evaluate them. And I'll show you a little bit later in here how you can make alternate exams and alternate assignments with the stuff that you already have there. Another neat feature that I really like, I tried to, even though I teach social studies, I tried to pick some non-social studies related examples, is you can turn anything you want into something for a non-English speaker, especially in subject areas that you want to assess their ability to do math or their ability to understand a social or science concept. And that can be really difficult when you have students that don't speak the language fluently. So in cases like this, I simply uploaded a question from, I believe this is the old grade 6 PAT. And what I did was I would type in here, now we're going into create, and I typed in translation, and then it said translate this document. And in this case, I happened to pick Tagalog. We have lots of kids from the Philippines in our classes, but there's a variety. You could have Ukrainian or whatever you want. So I picked Tagalog, and then I brisked it, and what I got was a question that looks like this. And I mean, I don't speak Tagalog, but I can see. I actually typed in there as well, only translate the English words and not any of the math concepts, because especially when you have math using letters, I didn't want those letters to somehow translate into something else. So you can see here that they've actually taken the question and they've translated it. And without knowing how to read it, I can see that it's the same thing, complete question number 1, complete the picture. Here is the question. They're still asking the same things, and here's the answers. But now that student perhaps doesn't have that language barrier on some of their stuff as they're starting to learn English. So I really like that feature, and that could be applied to any subject area. The next one I wanted to show you essentially is all of the kind of creative stuff that you can do for AI. And I happen to make a small list of things that you can do and that people are doing. And there's some really neat ones. And one of the things I do appreciate is if we go to the create category, this area here under curriculum essentials has gotten a lot bigger. When we first started, there was only a few boxes here that you could click on, and now there's so many things you can do with it. So I wanted to show you a few of them. If something specific that you want to make doesn't apply to one of these boxes, you can just say create anything. And what I did was I thought, well, I'm going to compare it to things like ChatGPT, and I could type in things like, so I did a few things. I could say which is better, cats or dogs? And I'll go brisket. And I hope it works because I'm nervous. Oh, I'm going to stop there. Apparently, I forgot to change it, and I can't read Tagalog, so we're going to stop there and we'll try that again. Let's try that one more time, but in English this time. Create anything. Create a Google Doc. Let's switch that back to English there. There we go. Which is better, cats or dogs? Brisket. Oh, and I also had it, I guess it was set at a grade 2 level, but you could change that to any level you want. And it's coming up with some information that you could use for that particular thing. I think about my child's grade 8 English teacher who does this big debate every year, and the kids have to debate their animal is the greatest animal, and they have to find out all the things about their animal and all the things that are not so desirable about their opponent's animal, and they have this big debate about it every year, and it's kind of a fun activity that they do. And I thought about something like that when you're looking at that response. Now, if I wanted to make it shorter or longer, or I want more detail or less detail, or again, now I've done this and I want to translate it into another language so I can provide that information for a different language learner, I can do that as well, or I can change it completely. And of course, I took the liberty of typing in for myself for social studies. I took the liberty of talking about pros and cons of tariffs with the current events that we're talking about. And I'm going to turn it to a higher level for my maybe grade 12 students. Provide a pros and cons list on tariffs. Let's do that. University, English. And so it does have a very similar function to ChatGPT in some of those respects. So that's kind of neat. And so if you were doing something like this in a class and you're teaching a concept, that might be something you'd want to do. And again, I can adjust it. If I'm not happy with it, I can make it longer, shorter, more detail, less detail. And again, I can translate it for the students in the class that might need that support as well. So that's a neat tool that you can do. Another tool is you can make quizzes. And one of the things that I've done with quizzes, I was teaching an options course last semester, and in that, we were watching a bunch of films that had to do with different social studies concepts, but I wanted to assess them after each film or each episode. And so I wanted to create a quiz. And in that quiz, you can choose how many multiple choice questions. You don't have to have multiple choice. You could do short or long response as well, but I'm going to choose multiple choice, and I'm going to keep it at university level, just for the English level and challenge for high school. But you could adjust this to any level that you feel fits your students best. And I could say, create a quiz on the plot of Chernobyl. We watched the movie Chernobyl, or the HBO series from HBO on episode 1 with answer key. And I'm going to press next, and it's going to ask me, do I want this in a new Google Doc, which I could have if I wanted to print it off. In that case, I did a Google form, so I'm going to click on that one. And so if you were teaching a concept or doing something very small and you just wanted a very quick exam made, you could do it this way. And what's nice about this is it will give you the answer key. It'll already set it up for you. And so I'm just going to kind of, it's still generating here. I asked for 10 questions. So you can see it's doing that. And then of course you could delete the questions you don't feel are fair or you don't want to give. And then I can add anything on that I want, or I could add more multiple choice. So if I wanted 5 more questions, I can just add 5 more questions if I felt like I needed more. I don't like the questions that they provided, or I want to make the test longer. So there's lots of options that way in making quizzes as well, which I really like. Another feature I wanted to show you is that anytime you have any type of video online, you can also make an assessment. So for example, I'm just going to pick CNN 10 here. I know a lot of teachers like to show current events, but you could apply this on YouTube with any science or math tutorial, or any video clip from any English thing that you're studying. And with this, I'm going to bring up my Brisk tool again, but this time I'm on YouTube. I'm actually on CNN 10. I'm on their actual website, but this applies to YouTube as well. And I can click on this button, and I'm going to go create, and I'm going to create a quiz. Create a quiz about this web page. And I always like to add answer key on there as well. And I'm going to do, say, 5 questions on this. Press next. And again, I can choose a Google Doc or a Google form. I'll choose a Google Doc this time, but it works the same way. And so you can see the topic of the video was on cookies and privacy for websites, and you can see it made me a quick quiz. So if I was showing a news article or any kind of quick little video that the kids are watching and I just want to keep them accountable and do a little quick quiz to check in, then that would be a good resource for that. And then of course I can add all the things I want. I can have it rewritten to make it more difficult or less difficult. I can add long response, short response, an answer key if it didn't already have one, and I can add more questions as well. And then we're going to try this where I'm going to add on create a summary of episode 1, Chernobyl on HBO. And so if you were watching a video and then you wanted to just even do a quick little summary for what's going on in a particular video that you're showing, you can definitely do that as well. And so that's a really interesting tool as well with that, is if you want to make any kind of summary. All right, I'm going to stop generating there. I think you get the point on that one. Another one I wanted to show you was creating an exemplar. You can create a lot of exemplars. I think about in the English and social fields with providing an example paper that shows different levels of learning. Oftentimes you'll have your excellent or your satisfactory levels. And so you can do that as well. And so I happened to grab a grade, I want to say this is a grade 6 prompt. It might be a grade 9 prompt. I'm sorry, I can't remember which one I grabbed it off of because I went through a few of them. But this is a prompt that I got off of a PAT. And I'm going to create an exemplar, and there is an actual exemplar button that you can click here. And with that, it says paste the prompt here. So I'm going to paste the prompt, and then I'm going to tell the prompt what I would like it to do. And you'll notice that it's actually filling in. What I typed in before. So I want the story. Let's say I know that I'm looking for 2 pages, double spaced. That's what I want. So I'm going to click on that as well. I can do that. And then I'm going to say, let's make it excellent. So I'm going to say, let's make it at 10th grade and exceeds expectations. But I want it to be 2.5 pages, double spaced, because that's kind of what I would expect from that group. Then that's what I'll type in, or you could type in whatever length you want. I do find length is sometimes a really important little add-on. Otherwise, it might be too short or too long for what you're actually expecting your students to complete. And of course, you want your example paper to look kind of like what the students should be writing. So I'm going to press Brisk. And it's going to tell me how it's defining why this one's an excellent. And then it's giving me a story. And because I asked it to write a personal story about this particular topic. And it's going to do that at a level with writing and obviously with all the things that it wrote up there. And I asked it to do 2.5 pages. I'm going to just stop there. And then if I wanted to make it shorter or longer, because let's say the example that they're providing is way too long or way too short, and I've had that happen sometimes, is you can do that and it'll just add more detail or less detail to it. And then if I want to add on, let's say, a below standard, I'm going to click on that and create a below expectation standard on that. I can press Brisket and it will do the same thing. And so I can create several documents. And I've done this before where I'll take an excellent paper or an excellent example, and then I will try to make different levels lower so that students can see kind of that progression of how to get up to that excellent as well. And it's listing why they feel like this one is well below. And you can see it's much, much shorter and much simpler in terms of vocabulary, etc. So that's a kind of a neat tool that I really like for a lot of teachers to use. A couple non-English examples, they do have under Create things like math word problems. And I thought this is a really neat one. There is a grade 6 outcome. So I'm not a math teacher. So all I did was I copied an actual outcome from the curriculum. And I said, I want to make a math word problem. It says describe the math standard. So describe the curriculum that I want to add onto. Oh, sorry, in the wrong button here. Create math word problem, and I'm going to put in the standard, and we'll keep it at grade 6 level. This was a grade 6 math one. I said provide answer key. That's really important. And so I did just copied and pasted the curricular objective. And then I'm going to say, I'm just going to make 2 questions. What am I missing? Please enter text. I did enter text. There we go. Okay. And we will patiently await for these 2 questions. And so you can see it gives you a little bit of something to go off of if you're typing in maybe like an answer or like a problem, and you want to have some variety with situations, for example. So you're not always talking about, in this case, fruit stands or buying pizza or whatever it happens to be. In that case, you can have a variety of situations. And I've used ones I've done this with high school concepts. And then I've done it with where, say, like, it's at a grade 10 or 12 concept. And it's really neat. I've seen ones where they took like a music concert and they looked at ticket prices. They looked at capacity. They looked at the stage size, all those different mathematical concepts. And they created one big problem where there was a lot of different solving to go on. So there is a lot of stuff. And like I said, I'm not a math teacher, but your only limit is your creativity. So if you know what you're looking for in a problem, you can specify what you're looking for in that math problem. And then you can get, at least some variety in what kinds of problems you're throwing at the kids, especially if you want to give them one really quickly to work on. That's kind of a neat tool. As you can see, there's other ones here. There is one called Science Lab. And in this case, I took the grade 6 curriculum, as you can see here, and I will just copy and paste. Let's say I'm going to copy and paste the entire set of knowledge outcomes from one area of the curriculum. And then I go back to my thing here, describe the lab that I want to create. And I'm going to say, let's put that at a 9th grade and brisket. And it can create any kind of lesson plan, or in this case, a lab for you. It tells you your materials and all that you need to know for your lab. And it would include all of the curricular objectives that you included in there. So that would be great for some type of summative assessment at the end of a unit. And you can see it creates so many resources for you. And I suppose I didn't create answer keys and things like that. But of course, in a particular lab, you wouldn't necessarily have an answer key for that. But you can put the answer key, or you can request whatever else you would want out of that particular lab. And that's kind of a neat feature with that tool. I'll go through a couple more, and I wanted to show you. Let's go to, I am going to get rid of all this. We'll start again. So this time I wanted to show you a really neat tool. I'm going to go create, and I want to make a resource for myself. And there's an upload feature. So I'm going to show you if I wanted to upload a test. And there's two things I could do with this. So I'm going to take a test that I have created. Am I not? Oh no, I'm still on. I'm going to take a test I created. And all of a sudden, you guys disappeared. Andrew, you still there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. All of a sudden, my Google Meet stuff disappeared off my screen.
It's okay. You're live and it's good. And
okay.
You can see your screen and the pop-up.
So I go into my documents and I find my chapter 1 quiz. So I'm just going to pick on my 20-2 chapter 1 quiz, and I'm going to open up. And so now it's going to bring up my quiz that I have. And then I can do a number of things with this. So the first thing I thought about when doing this is I want to create a review assignment or a review package based on this. This would be really good, actually, if you even had like your unit exam. So I'm going to say, create a review package based on the content in this quiz. And then I want to put some specifics that I would want in there. So include a vocabulary list. So I want them to create some kind of summary with all of the main concepts that pop up in my exam. And again, this was a PDF, but it also works for Word. And I'm going to go university level because I do find that, like I said, our standard I just find is a little bit higher. So I always err on a couple grades up if I want to go for grade level. And I'm going to go brisket. But you noticed on there, you can also change language and level as well. So if you want to simplify it for a student who's maybe below level, you could do that as well. And you can see it's actually taking all of the key vocabulary that I have in the quiz. It's identifying those keywords and it's making a list of vocabulary. It's talking about different concepts that are popping up. And so this would be really good. And it's even bringing up any names of people that are mentioned in my quiz. And it's making a category of any case studies that I've come up with. And then, of course, I can change all of these things. But as you can see, for this quiz, I have a whole list of study tools that I could print off for the kids as a good resource. And this would be really a really good feature for your big unit exams and things like that. The other thing I wanted to do, I don't know if it'll let me right here, is I want to create resource, create an alternate version of this exam at the same level and the same material. And so, you know, I have a kid who wants to redo an exam. I don't want to give them the same exam. It can be really challenging to create these redo opportunities for students. So this might be a tool that can help you as well. And you'll notice, I will click on this just for a quick second. When you click on the button for standards, if you click on Alberta, they didn't have this before, but they have really branched out. They're trying to get Alberta customers here. You see, you click on Alberta, and I'm going to click on social studies, and it has all the different grades. Let's go 11. And I could click on some of them. Now, I have been told that the science and math curriculums is much more robust. It has a lot of stuff. You can see it doesn't have very much for my level of social studies in terms of outcomes, but it does have outcomes for other grades. So you might be able to find some of your outcomes for some of those. But I have heard that science and math are very good for this. Anyway, so I'm going to say done. And I'm going to go brisket, and it's going to open up a new Google Doc. And now it's not going to format it the same way. It's not going to make another PDF for me. But what it will do is, as I wait very patiently, it's going to create some multiple choice questions for me that I could maybe put into that. Now it's making me, it's redoing some of my sources as well, which is fine. And it's adding some short answer, which I guess I should have put in there. I only want it to be multiple choice, but it's making some fill in the blanks. And you know what? That could be even good for differentiation, right? Like you have your grade level test, and then you have some kids in junior high or elementary school that are below grade level. You could ask them to make the test, but with, again, like we talked about, a lower level vocabulary, maybe simplify some of the concepts that the kids are learning about. So I thought that was a really neat tool that you could use, where you can actually upload your particular assessment. And like I said, and then you can make some resources, even changing, like I said, change the grade level or create some other type of resource, as I mentioned, like a study guide of some kind for that. So I thought that was a really good tool. And then the last one I wanted to talk about, because there's so many things here, and I do want to point out there are things like, I've never tried the subplan maker, but there are things like presentations. You can also make a presentation, like a PowerPoint presentation or a Google Slides presentation. And in that presentation, you can type in how many images you want, with or without images, how many slides do you want, what level. And again, the same thing, it will bring up then a new slideshow, and it will put all the information in. Now, I'll tell you, the slideshows are pretty simply formatted, but it does the job. And then if you want to go in and add some details and make it look a little bit fancier, you can. But it actually does a pretty good job of giving you the slideshow presentation that you would like to use for your class. The final thing I want to show you, I'm just going to get out of here because I don't want to do it on my exam here, is there's a really neat feature. And I mean, we're kind of evolving in how we teach. There's a podcast feature, and this is really neat. So I discovered this one. If I wanted to make a podcast, but I don't want to make the podcast, I want AI to do it for me, is I'm going to say, describe the subject of this podcast. And so the one I tried was describe the features of Brisk AI. And then I'm going to make it, we're just going to make it super short for now. I'm going to make it a 1 to 2 minute podcast. And I'm going to say, let's have it at university level. We'll have it in English and I will brisk it, but of course you can change all of that. And then it brings this up. And I thought this is a really neat tool. So as you can see, it is typing out a podcast with the script, which theoretically then you could have kids read if you wanted to. And again, I just wanted to keep it at 1 to 2 minutes. And then it's still making it, but I'm going to skip ahead here. I can press play, and I hope you guys can hear this.
We cannot hear it. It was probably just a little toggle when you shared your screen.
What's that? What happened?
There was a toggle box when you did your screen share for the audio. I think you'd actually have to stop sharing and start again.
Okay, that's okay. Well, I want you to pretend that you just heard some actually pretty good voices, some AI voices. They sound very lifelike, I have to say, and they actually read through and they go back and forth between the people. And it's a really neat feature. So if you wanted to have some kind of different way to present information, or I don't know, I'm sure the possibilities are endless for creating podcasts for a concept that you're going through in class, and that's a really neat feature as well. So I just thought that was kind of a fun new feature that that wasn't there before. And that's kind of it for me. Like I went through, like I said, one of the things I really do like about Brisk is that they are constantly adding, and they are very responsive to their feedback. You know, one of the things I hear complaining a lot with Google is I've often put in, you know, submit your feedback when there's a tool or there's something that doesn't work great. And I find that with Brisk, when you submit your feedback, it'll often say, did you like this? How did it work? After each thing that you do. And I do find they're very responsive to the feedback. Even like early on when I was talking with the people there, and I said, well, if you're wanting to sell this to Alberta, you need to start putting Alberta curriculum for the rubrics in there, things like that. And you can see that they've added math and science, which they never had before. They're adding things like podcasts. So they're constantly responding to kind of the feedback that they're receiving from people. And one of the things that I really like then is every time you log in, they will highlight, hey, we have this new feature. Like they really are trying to make it as inclusive as possible so that you're not having to use a whole bunch of different AI tools. I still use other AI tools as well. I will say one of the limitations is it doesn't generate images as of yet, whereas other AI tools you can use for image generation. But in terms of most things that you can create, it does a really good job, and it does so in a really kind of a protected sense. Like I feel okay uploading my test to their site because the district has looked into their security features and things like that. So you don't have to worry too much about that. And so there's a lot of tools there, and I would just encourage you to take a look at some of these and see if there's anything that would apply to you. And I know we have like a district site license for everybody to have the full version right now. And so it says Brisk is free forever. Enjoy 75 days of school and district, but that just keeps, I don't know, it just keeps renewing all the time. There are some features for students to use Brisk, but we don't have that as of yet to be dished out to them. I was playing with the managed student extension one, and there was a feature where if I give the kids a code and they're typing something, then there are like language tutors and things like that, almost like I want to say like Grammarly, where they could bring that in and use it, but you would have to share that tool with them. And in terms of that, I'm not sure that those are enabled yet. I know we were before when they first came out, they weren't enabled yet. So I don't think we're quite there for having the students be able to use Brisk. But like I said, I'm looking at this more as a teacher, and I'm trying to find tools that will make my life a little bit easier, be able to give feedback a little bit faster, or to be a little bit more creative in the classroom. So that is my presentation today. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Awesome. I can speak to the student extension piece a little bit. So there's two pieces. There's the Boost student extension that's creating activities. So that is available to students. The only way we would lock that out would actually be to ask Brisk to do it. And it was quite a workaround on their end, because it's something your students won't ever see it unless you create a Boost activity and assign it to them. Now, the Brisk extension itself that could do the writing, that is, the students aren't allowed to install it at this point, but it's certainly something we're willing to look at piloting. And so if there's teachers who are interested in checking out the student extension, that's something that we can look at too. Obviously, we don't run a pilot with the intentions of cutting you all off next year. So the goal is to continue with the school and districts plan and make sure everybody has access to the full version. And really, like Kara said, there are lots of AI tools. What I like about having many is sometimes you can run it through a few things and just make sure that one of them's not way off base or something. And then that added security piece is definitely a huge one for us with the division. It's why we went with Brisk, because they're willing to sign a privacy agreement with us and just, guarantee us that our kiddos are safe and the stuff that we're sharing with them is not going outside our division, which was really important to us, because, AI is great, but also they're taking everything you put in there and they're keeping and using it. So I'm actually going to stop the recording here. And does anybody have any questions? I answered one.